Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Modern Mystics with me and a surprise guest, Susannah. Yeah, so this is the second time Susannah's been on the show, and today I felt like I wanted to talk about using projects for awakening and dealing with pressure and releasing pressure, and yeah, I was just thinking just now, it's like, I've seen more and more recently like this defense mechanism that seems to be tied into apathy, where it's like, I used to think I felt no pressure, and you know like back in the friends group with Nicholas in high school, like we'd say like, yeah, we don't care about anything or whatever. There were some curse words involved with that, but generally the sense was, yeah, I don't care about anything. And really just seeing that it's not actually true, that really there's some kind of defense mechanism going on in the mind when there seems to be pressure. It's almost like there's like, I'll just eat it. It's like in my mind, I'll just eat the pressure and just push it down. And, you can't digest that stuff. Like, it's not good for you. So it just like builds up, and then it turns into apathy. And then, yeah, it's just, that's when the zoning out happens. And basically now it's like, and I just realized before the show, like just sitting here, that my whole life I've actually like really looked up to, in a sense, to people with like type A personalities, or like people that were really active and really energetic and really excited and inspired, and I always wondered, like, yeah, what's going on with that? Like, I don't know, there was always this thought, and I was really attracted towards that kind of like dynamic or personality, the ones that are like really like fiery or something. And yeah, and now I'm just saying that it's like, I think one of the reasons is because deep down it's like I want to be more like that, just in a sense of I don't want to have this apathy defense mechanism anymore. And so the Holy Spirit, gives the means to heal the mind. And right now the means for me looks like projects. And projects and doing things in general hasn't been a strength for me at all. So it's like, thank God for our mighty companions that can come in and support us with our strengths and weaknesses. And that's what it kind of looks like in this community here that we're living in. It's like, if we have certain patterns, then we can pretty much trust that other people don't. And then you seem to be paired up with different ones in collaborations and projects together, and you each have like different strengths and different weaknesses, and then they complement each other, and then there's a really good dynamic for healing going on with that. So just like Jason was talking about on his show earlier today, and it feels like for me, like I said, like the weakness is like the projects and the really practical doing and being, like, basically we use the projects, and some people seem to have like doer dynamics, but for me it's like more of the apathy kind of thing, and zoning out during the project and can't focus that well. And so Susannah, I feel like, has a real like strong suit with projects, and I don't know, to me, like, she's really on it. Like when she has a project, she's on it, and she makes all the communications that she needs to, and she can really focus on something. And even yesterday you were telling me, for fun, you used to give yourself like deadlines for projects, like, okay, from 1 to 3 p.m. I'm gonna finish this project, and so on and so forth. And I was like never like that. Like that's why I wasn't good at school, and because I never had that sort of focus in my mind. And recently it just feels like, yeah, you felt really inspired to just link up with me in that, because that's your strength and it's my weakness. So we've been like joining every day on like prioritization, and it's like, okay, yeah, it feels like this is the priority, and we just joined together, and yeah, to help me focus, and it's been really helpful. But I'm almost wondering, like, did that come naturally, or is that something you even learned, or how Yeah, how does that come in? It's just, is it like Jason's clip where, you know, the guy just played the piano really nice so it was natural for him, or?
You mean prioritization or just in
Yeah,
general
prioritization
planning
and being able to like focus that well on a project from a certain time, and even wanting to like finish a project like that.
I don't know, but I can see now when I look back, like I used to make these plans of my day, of my life, of my week. Like I wanted to have a schedule because to me it's like I was trying to find an answer to my life. So I thought, well, if I do this, 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 and this, that will be the answer. So I made a lot of plans and I wasn't able to keep up with a lot of them because they just didn't work. Like there was no real drive underneath that was like, yeah, this is it. This is the answer. But it was like trying to find a way out kind of thing. So I feel like I had to let go a lot of planning actually, and planning out, because I would plan out whole conversations to make sure that I felt safe, because that's how afraid I was of the intimacy or of communication. Like I would just go over it in my mind and like all the different possibilities and plan it all out and have an answer for every possible scenario or something. So I feel like that's something I actually really had to let go of. And I mean, that's a constant practice for me still, like letting go of this, trying to push something, like trying to really plan for this to happen. Like I know what's supposed to happen. But on the other side, it's helped me a lot with, like actually what is the most important thing next and next and next. And about a year ago or so when I was in Mexico, I was linking with Yuta around prioritization, and it feels a little different than priorities in the world versus priorities here, because it's like what you prioritize here is your relationship with the spirit. So the projects that are given to you by the spirit, if you put that first, you put the relationship first. So there's just a little different way of looking at it instead of what I would usually do in the world. But it's like, how can I be most helpful? Those are the priorities. So I feel like there has been some training and letting go and just a retranslation of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Actually.
Probably comes back to purpose, right? Like that's how you prioritize when it's with spirit-given projects. It's like in the world you prioritize what's the purpose. It's like maybe I'm trying to make a lot of money, so I'm going to prioritize my tasks based on like what can help me make a lot of money. But then when spirit gives you projects, then it's like prioritizing based on what you just said, that relationship. And
because you also prioritize on image or relationships, like how do you look with certain people, or are you attached to certain people, like certain special relationships, like you put those first. And there's still a temptation to do that, even here. But it's like, come back to the purpose. Like, what are you here for? It's forgiveness. Okay. Well, then the spirit will know the priorities. So it just comes back to that over and over.
Yeah, and it's really cool how, like, before I really came to the community or even watched David's videos, I didn't know that you could work on projects or even do anything with the spirit, like, in a healing way. And I just remember one day I was watching, they were doing some virtual stuff, and I wasn't in community, but I was watching Nicholas, and he said, yeah, we use projects as a way of getting out of the getting mechanism by the ego. And when it comes from the spirit, then it's like, I'm just giving, and that washes away the ego. And I felt really inspired by that, because at the time, I was doing a lot, but what I was doing was projects for the real estate business and trying to make a lot of money. And now it's like, and so that's the ego's purpose, obviously. And then I come into community, and now a lot of the projects are actually in the form, they're similar, but the purpose is completely different. It's like for forgiveness and it's for healing. And yeah, it's amazing. It's like hard to even describe. I didn't even know that was possible, but it feels so gentle. It's like the gentleness of the spirit, because there are still like these desires in the mind, like for what I used to always really want, like the real estate and the business and stuff. And now it's almost like Holy Spirit's like, okay, I can see you still like the stuff you did before, the marketing and whatever, but I'm going to use that for this purpose of forgiveness and healing now. And when the purpose changes, it's like, wow, this actually feels truly productive now. And so now it feels really inspiring. It's like, wow, this is like amazing. This is like the perfect situation. It's like the Holy Spirit's giving symbols that I always loved to heal my mind. And yeah, it gets intense sometimes, but it's like now I feel really inspired to learn the prioritization, the practical things for projects. And Jason was saying, like, yeah, it is about undoing, it is about unlearning, but sometimes learning can actually help in the undoing. And for me, like, actually learning how to prioritize and learning how to focus is part of the undoing. And I just think that's amazing, because it's like there's no sacrifice in that. It's like, wow, everything's given. Like, that's actually, like, that's a miracle. It's amazing. So I'm glad you've been so inspired to link up with me in this, because I feel so inspired to really, like, learn these practical things. Because I was even journaling this morning, and you know, like, a lot of these projects that I have right now, they're really huge. And for me, it's like, it's more comfortable to know what's coming next or what to do next. Like, even before I came to community, when I was doing the whole real estate thing, I didn't want to, like, figure anything out or think about what I have to do next. So I paid for, like, this huge program that literally said very basic, like, do this first, do this first, do this first, then this, then this, then this. And now it's like, because that was my comfort zone. Now I'm breaking out of that comfort zone, because I have all these huge projects that aren't 100% clear right off the bat what to do next. So it's like, okay, I have to pray and then listen to that guidance and see what comes next. And I was journaling this morning, and it feels like that's part of the whole, like, getting a full picture of the mind, like a full clarity of the mind. And of course, all the projects are used for healing the mind, so it's all very symbolic. And yeah, I was just writing down, like, this morning, like, clarity and acceptance of projects as a reflection of mind. Only when you get full clarity in your mind can you see that sin, guilt, and fear are impossible. Because it's like what I've talked about on previous shows. It's like there's, like, this unconscious mind, and it's like, it seems really dark and full of shadows and scary, and fear, sin, guilt, fear, punishment, like, it's all seems to be down there. But really, it's only down there because it only seems to be down there because we're not looking at it. So it's like, we're not looking at it because we believe there's something there, but the whole mind training and all the projects and everything is helping us to look at it and actually see that there's nothing there. You know, it says in the Course, it's like, what would happen if you ask yourself, like, if I look within and see no sin, like, what would happen then? It's like, have you ever asked yourself, what if I looked within and saw no sin? And then it says, like, the ego would really basically hate that question. Like, it would get really vicious. And but I feel like that's what the projects are helping us do, because it's like, with these kind of big projects that I have right now, it's like there's so many layers that you have to get fully clear on. It's like, okay, so, like, right now we're working on a new website, and it's, like, gonna be like our main website, like our main website. Right now we have like 100 websites, so we're hiring, like, a developer, and someone felt really inspired to donate the money, so all the symbols are coming in, and it feels really inspiring and given. And then, but there's so many aspects of it. Like, I don't know that much about websites, so it's like there's so many questions that I have to get clear on for my own mind to feel clear on, like, the guidance and the direction of the project. And really, I just see that as, like, a symbol of, like, getting clear on all the parts in my own mind that I'm not clear on. It's almost like symbolic of, like, the lighthouse, like scanning the mind, make sure there's no shadows, make sure there's nothing hidden. And that's what it feels like the project's doing. And then yeah, I just wrote like getting full clarity in your projects is a practical step towards doing that. And by doing that, I meant like to see that sin, guilt, and fear are impossible, and as a practical means of healing the mind. And then there's communication. You know, we communicate so much in the community, and in the Course it says that the body is just a communication device. And even that's very symbolic, because I think also in the Course it says like the separation was really just a break in communication. I think what's really beautiful with you too is that like you have such a gift in communication. Like that's another really natural talent that I feel comes to you. So it's like this symbol of like communication overseers has come into the community. And it's basically just a group of 7 of us that, yeah, it's like the main function there is like communication and joining together and praying on different decisions that seem to come up in the ministry, and just really a practice of letting ourselves be used as a communication device. So I don't know, did you feel like you have anything to share about that?
Well, just to get back to the clarity thing, because I feel like when we've been working together this past week, because we've been collaborating for a week, just really on the broader picture. Like I have no idea about any web stuff, or like I'm not really in the project, so to say, but I'm just really joining with Andy on from like intuitive place more. So like if you're sharing with me, look, I've been doing this, I've been looking into that, this is my next step. It's like, okay, well, what about that? That part doesn't feel fully clear. And it's like, that's kind of been the collaboration. And then you're like, oh, yeah, you know what? That doesn't feel clear. So there's all these chances to get this full clarity in your mind, which is in my mind, it's a worthiness thing. Like you're worthy of full clarity. And that involves communication. You will not get the clarity without communicating. So there's, again, that worthiness aspect of like, I'm worthy to get the clarity, so I'm worthy to communicate and ask questions and until I'm fully clear. And it's like this thing came to mind, like leave no stone unturned. And that's what you're doing with every project. And I think it's just so inspiring to see that. It's like these insights come and it's like, oh my God, this is great, because you get totally happy. Like I have this, it's very obvious, like in my experience when I'm not clear on something, because I go down, I feel depressed, I start to cry. It's like, that's kind of the sequence. And for you, it's been kind of showing up as, you know, when you're not clear, you're just confused. Like it's like a foggy kind of thing. And it's like nothing makes sense anymore. So I don't know, how would you describe it?
Yeah, I would say like that's where the swallowing comes in. Like I'll just eat it, and then that's when the fog and the apathy come in. And for me, that's such a familiar thing, like my entire life. So a lot of times there's a compromise with that. But now it's like breaking out of that compromise and seeing that the confusion between pain and joy. It's like, okay, this fog is actually not joy, even though I think it keeps me safe or whatever. Now it's like breaking out of that pattern. Yeah, so I feel like that's what it looks like.
Yeah, because you had the other day, like there were some emotions, but it was like it was not clear at all for you what it was, what even the emotion was, where it even started or where it came from. And it's like, well, I think that's a sign that you're just not clear on your priorities. And then we joined, and it's like, okay, this is the first thing to focus your mind on. And it's like, that's how you get back into focusing on the spirit. And it's like you totally switched, just even moving towards that for like a second was like, oh, I feel much better. It's like things just dissolve. So I think that's just really beautiful. And in my, like that's part of the clarity. It's like when the clarity is there, like there's a clear relationship with the spirit. Like there's no other motives or anything else in between, like no ego distractions or any of that. It's just pure. Like that's just really beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm just reminded, like, I think I told you, but I had a call with Laverne, and she was trying to explain something with me, and and yeah, it feels like partly a worthiness thing too, because like, or mostly, but she was trying to explain something to me, and I kept trying to be like, okay, yeah, I get it, but like I didn't totally get it. But thank God for her, like she felt that I wasn't fully clear on it, so she was like, no, maybe I'll explain it again, and then she would explain it again. I still didn't want to get it, but I didn't want to say like, you know, I don't understand. So I'll be like, yeah, I understand. You know, like it reminds me of like in the world when, like I remember like a friend would like tell me something and I wouldn't hear them. I would be like, what'd you say? And then they would say it again, and then it's like at that point it's like, I don't want to say what'd you say again another time because that's embarrassing. So I'm just gonna pretend like I know what you said, and it's like, no, we're actually worthy of like full clarity. So that was amazing because me and Laverne went over whatever that was that we were talking about the project. We went over it like, I don't know, like several times, and finally it's like, oh wow, I get it. And it's like it just clicked, and it's like it's nice. It's like now there's no shadow there, there's no like fog there. It's like we're worthy of that consistent effort.
Yeah, and actually when you were saying that, it's like we're worthy of that, and the spirits, like that's the valuable thing. Like how much we want clarity and how much we communicate. It's like we put the value of the spirit first. Like we acknowledge that it's the most valuable thing in our life. Like the more we go towards that and towards that, and it's like it's worthy of full attention and full focus. So even with those projects that you're saying, like they're so big, and the more you dive into it, the more you see that you don't know actually, and like the more there is to even discover. It's like one step and it's like, right. Oh wow, like that's all I need to get clear on, and then you take another step and it's even more. But it's like the more fully you put your mind into that, the more you're saying that you value the spirit over everything. Right. And it's like, that's just so beautiful. Like that's how we can use the projects. It's like when you put your mind so fully into it and fully take it as your own. It's like you're saying, I accept fully what you give me, spirit, because that project is given to me for a reason. Like that is my healing. So when you fully accept it, it's just like a full yes to spirit. Like take me, like heal me, like show me everything I need to see. And it's just really beautiful. With I just envision it like some kind of web. Like you go in one strand and it splits off, and just like this big.
Yeah, it's like like walking through the like unconscious mind with a lantern with like the Holy Spirit next to you. It's like I'm worthy of like shining light on all parts of my mind, and yeah, that's what I feel like the projects help you do, especially these huge projects where it's like, okay, now I uncovered another layer. It's like I went a floor down deeper into the mind. It's like, okay, there's more to shine light on. It's like more clarity can be found. Yeah, it's amazing because when I first heard about like using projects for awakening and being done through, it's like no one talks about that, not even in spirituality at all. So I didn't really like believe it. And actually it took me a long time, even after I came into the community, to fully, where I'm seeing the value even more and more and more now. But yeah, I'm just saying like how amazing it is. Like I never read about any of this stuff, but now I'm saying like, wow, this is so amazing. It's like the ultimate plan for awakening. It's like using the symbols that you love in your life, whatever they might be, using your skills and strengths, but also going into your weaknesses, and then healing the mind through that. It's like, what more could you ask for? And
no, it's so fun.
Then mighty companions.
It's
like,
so fun.
You know, it's like joining together, and then communication, and yeah, it's like there's nothing missing from that picture. It's like the ultimate gift.
Good movie.
Yeah. So let's see. It's funny, I was writing all this down and then I wrote, it's all very simple actually. And I wrote, that's why staying present is important, and attentiveness. Like when you don't look at your mind, it's because you believe there's something fearful down there. So when you don't look, then it reinforces that belief that there is something scary down there. But then when you do look through the projects and through the prayer, meditation, the focus, then you can just eventually see like there's nothing actually going on. It's amazing. So.
Because you've been noticing a lot around distractions too. Like
Yeah.
even when an email would come in or a message would come in, it's like, actually that's even a moment to pause and pray. Is this for now or is it not?
Yeah.
Like, is this actually supporting my focus on the spirit or is it a distraction? It's just, yeah, like you've been noticing so many ways where you would just kind of go off course or something.
Yeah, like there's so many like layers or nuances or something, because it's like, yeah, I'm working on something and then maybe I'll get a Slack. Like we use Slack as like a messaging tool. And so I'll get a message from someone or an email and it's like, okay, let me go read that and let me go read this. And then you're just telling me, no, you don't have to read them right away. You know, it's like, or you'll get a preview and then it's like, okay, that's not for now. You'll read the preview and that's not for now. You don't have to respond back right away is what you were saying. And it's like, wow, okay. So it's like, maybe I even try to convince myself like, okay, so that's given or whatever, but really they're all like little distractions, and it's like following the guidance is knowing what the next priority is, really. So it's like just because you get a message in doesn't mean like that's a priority.
Right, because it's like not necessarily communicating a lot is communication. Like just even when people talk a lot in the world, that's not necessarily communication either.
Yeah.
It's like, what would the Spirit have me say? And then that's how you can prioritize that even. Like that's how you get clear on what's really helpful.
Yeah. It's just like following the guidance. It's like, okay, what would you have me do now? It's like, if you're going to have me work on this now, then if a message comes in and I see the preview and it's about something else, and then it's like, Holy Spirit's like, that's not the priority, then getting into that message is just another distraction. And it's just another little compromise that we want to look at.
Right, because the funny thing was, it's like you were in a project and you're like, okay, I'm going to work on this for the coming hour or something, and then I would come back after an hour and felt to just like connect again, and you're like, yeah, I never got to it. I'm like, what? What happened? And it's so hard to account for that time even, because it's so vague in the mind even, like, yeah, what did I spend my time on? Like, what actually happened? It's like, that's even a cue. Like, oh, yeah, if I'm not even clear on what I spend my time on, that's probably not, was probably not with the Spirit.
Yeah.
But
yeah, just noticing that, because I'll be working on something and then email comes in, I'll go to the email and then maybe I'll zone out for a few seconds or go to the bathroom, and then it's like all these opportunities for attentiveness and focus. It's like even in the bathroom, like if I'm on the toilet, I might check my phone. It's like, is that a good use of time? You know, it's like, or checking my emails or whatever. It's like, it's always about, is this given? What's given now? Like, what's the guidance now? And it's like, it's like noticing every single distraction, because like we are worthy of that consistent effort. Yeah. And even like, I think I was telling you that, I'll be working on something and sometimes it'll feel like so good, and then it's like, then all these thoughts like, go get a little snack, go get a tea or whatever, like will come in and try to like draw me away, and it's like, no, it's like I'm worthy of consistent effort. So it's like that's the mind training, like sticking with what the present guidance is and not going for those like sirens, you know, like in Homer's Odyssey.
I really like Jeffrey and Jackie have like this story from when Jeffrey first came into the community, and he had this experience where there was just so much love coming through. And I really love what Jackie said, and I feel like it applies to this too. But she said, like, dare to stay with the love. And it's like, dare to stay with the love, like, is the guidance. Dare to stay with the flow and the joy. And because everything tries to just grab you and try to get you away. So it's like, dare to stay with it. It's like, because I notice the same thing. Like, when I'm really in a flow, it's like something will just come in where it's like, oh, let me just, you know, I don't know, like go get a tea, it'll be even better or something like that. Or even like, yeah,
Right.
this is great. Let me just do this and come back to it. Because I don't know why, but there's just some kind of sabotage mechanism.
Yeah, some kind of
But,
unworthiness. Like
yeah.
even some that seem really like, oh yeah, it'll really help. Like if I'm really in a flow and it's starting to feel really good, I'll be like, okay, I'll stop and meditate now and really soak it. It's like, no, that even that can be a distraction. It's like,
Yeah.
it's not about the form, you know, it's about like the guidance. It's like what's given right now.
Yeah. That's what I like what you said too, because the whole priorities idea, there's no black and white, this is the most important thing, then this and this and this. It's like in the moment, present guidance. Like that's the only thing that can determine the priorities.
Yeah.
And there'll be helpful guidelines. Like in general, this is probably more of a priority than this. But it's never a black and white rule.
Right.
Because we don't care about that. That's not what's going to bring us to God. It's going to help us, for sure. But in the end, it will just be guidance that has the answer for everything. So
Yeah.
it's like this
'Cause
practice.
It could be that you're working on a project and then you get a message and you read it, you see the preview, and it's like, oh, that's the priority right now.
Yeah.
It just spontaneously came in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's never about like really the form of how it looks.
It's good. We can't get stuck in that.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's still there to even support getting into the guidance, like even learning to hear that. Like everything is just playing its part to support us getting into that experience. So
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
Yeah. And it's really inspiring to me too, because you know, if you guys were watching the last show, I was with Jason. I was telling him like I feel like it's like a pendulum, you know. I swing from apathy to doer, and he's like, well, I feel like the pendulum is actually nailed to one side. It's actually nailed to the apathy side, and you don't have to worry about like being in the doer. So I actually got really excited about that, because I just saw that, wow, all those times like, what if I go into the doer and whatever, all those hypotheticals, those were all just distractions. And our next online retreat on I think January 4th is about undoing the doer, like living life through true inspiration. And that's amazing to me. Like that's like really exciting to me, because you know, these online retreats, whatever the theme is and the subject that comes in is what we need to hear, because it's like, okay, it's given, we're all watching them, we're part of them. So it's like, okay, this is looking really nice. Like maybe that pendulum will get unhinged and swing to the other side by the time the retreat comes. You know, it's like, that's what I feel really inspired by. It's like, okay, let's get the pendulum unhooked, and then we'll worry about redirecting it and keeping it to that middle ground, away from the doer and away from the apathy. But it's like, yeah, I don't have to think about like, what if I go in the doer or whatever. It's like, no, it's like, let's just keep moving in that direction, and then I have my mighty companions to redirect me if I actually went in that direction. But it feels really inspiring. It's like what I was saying. I always felt really inspired by people that, you know, were really energetic and really like, I don't know, whatever, that kind of energy. And those are the kind of people that I'm linked up with right now. Like the website, like there's Gustavo and then Fernanda, like they're all like really high energy, they're fired up. Like I just love that, you know. It's like, it's a nice symbol. Yeah. Okay, well, I feel pretty complete. You feel good?
Yep.
Okay, great. Well, thank you guys for joining us on another episode of Modern Mystics, and yeah, the times will be at 8 a.m. MST every Monday from now on. So we'll see you next week. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susannah.
Oh, thank you.